How's it going, YouTube? Young Connoisseur here. Just picked up a new FNHurst FNS 9mm. Picked up the 4-inch barrel version. What I'm going to show you here is just a quick rundown size-wise, a couple things I do to my guns. First up, it's a part, just got back from the garage. What I do is I bevel out and Dremel, and then I hand polish, or I let the gun polish it over time. The little lips for the slide catch so it's easier to bang it in with your thumb. I also remove a very small amount of material here. You can see that it's no longer a sharp 90-degree edge, so it drops more. I'd rather be in a firefight and have the slide, in full battery instead of locked back and, count shots in my head rather than have the gun, not be able to get it back to battery with a round in the chamber after reloading. But I almost never carry a second mag with me anyway. Fully degreased it. I have just over a box and a half through the gun right now. Obviously I have range here. So just got done shooting. Doing my typical barrel break-in, I'll run about 40 rounds through it. I'll clean it, run it again, clean it again, and then at that point I only clean them every 500 to 1,000 rounds, which in a lot of cases is only about a week of shooting. This has a similar to a Gen 3 Glock recoil spring. Seeing as this gun was a little bit bigger, it appears to be bigger or smaller than the Gen 4 G23 here, which I'll go ahead and compare this with a little bit. Total weights of the gun are about the same. The slide dimensions are virtually identical. This is tapered. It's a little bit smoother. Honestly, in your pants, this feels better outside of a holster. This feels like a big old Lego. Even though the external dimensions are within a couple millimeters of each other, this just folds next to your body. It's a lot more streamlined. Total weight for the complete uppers is almost the same. I'll throw it on the gram scale and compare it and put it in the comments for you guys. I do know for an absolute fact the total weight here on the Gen 4 G23 we are looking at, because I always keep track of my gun weights. So fully loaded with one in the pipe, it weighs 912 grams for the G23. That's actually dead 2 pounds, so 2.00, not 2.01, not 199, so dead 2 pounds for 14 rounds of 180 grain 40 cal. In this bad boy. Main difference is the recoil spring. It's got the dual rates, so it takes up the slack, and it's a progressive rate, so it's not just a standard rate. I also do my own trigger jobs. Obviously you can see the frame beveling, so I can get up higher on the gun. FN touts that the FNS has a low bore axis, meaning the center line of the barrel to the inside of your hand. Obviously you want to have that as low as possible so the gun recoils straight back, because if you give it a fulcrum, lower axis point, the pressure is going this way, so the higher you get, the more you can reduce muzzle climb, so you can hold it on target for pull-up shots. As I will compare and show here, that is not the case. I wouldn't call this a low center axis for the bore line at all. In all honesty, this gun recoils harder than my 40 cal. I also have the 9mm conversion barrel. The 9mm out of this thing shoots basically like a 22. The way it's set up stock, 40 cal, honestly shoots still probably a little softer than the 9mm in this FN. I'm going to slap this together for you. It's real quick. The internals are a little bit more complex than a Glock. It probably has 20 more parts. I think Glocks have, like 35 parts in them. This probably has somewhere around 45. It's more along the lines of the CZ. My other channel, I don't know if I put up a video about the CZ P09 I had it for 2 days. That thing would not shoot at all. It was huge groups. I shoot long range, and I'll shoot, 6 to 8 inch groups at 80 yards, but that thing you couldn't hit anything with it. I'm not joking. It was like a 100-minute gun. So we're talking like it couldn't even hit 5 feet, a 5-foot circle, you know, at 100 yards. One gripe, it's not a gripe, I'm just super picky and I'm super spoiled by the trigger work I do on my rifles and everything else. The trigger on this, it's definitely not 7 pounds. I don't have a trigger pull gauge, but I've pulled a lot of 7-pound triggers. This is probably right where the Glocks are at stock, right around 5.5. It's not super crisp. There is a little bit of creep. Obviously, the better, you know, finger dexterity you have, you can get it to creep more. But it's going to break in. And honestly, I'm not going to screw with the trigger at all on this gun. If I can have something that's, you know, a little bit stiffer, that'll help with, you know, trigger control at speed. I can just sail, you know, just piss lead out of the 45, out of the 40, out of any gun I shoot with a nice trigger in it. I don't even shoot to reset, which is where you let, you know, you pull the trigger, action cycles, and then you just let the trigger out enough to where point where it resets. I don't shoot that way. I shoot wet recoil, then I try to just let my finger go completely, you know, noodly, completely numb, don't put any pressure on it, and let the trigger push it out forward. I don't, you know, go off the trigger and bang it into the trigger guard, then come slap the trigger, bang, 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 bang. But I don't, you know, mentally keep track of that. And as you've seen in some of the videos, I can send it pretty quick, pretty accurately. But as we talk now about the bore lines, you can see if we put the center of the bore axis here and the center of the bore axis here on this gun, I will trust, you can trust me here to line it up for you guys, because I know you can't tell in the videos that easily. Alright, so the bores and everything are absolutely centered. You can see now how much higher up just naturally you are to the center of where that bullet's coming out on the Glock than this. It's may only be about, let's say, 3.5, maybe, let's say 4 millimeters plus or minus half a mil. And it just, oh my gosh, it makes such a difference. I'm not complaining about it. I'm not recoil sensitive, but this gun definitely does tire you out. Total recoil wise, you know, and I have this thing, which a lot of people complain about, is the 380, saying this thing's basically unshootable. It's such, you know, a beast for the power plant in it for how lightweight it is. And that gun doesn't tire me out at all. This feels like I'm shooting an old school 1911 with like plus B plus 230s out of it. It doesn't slam, and it's not a push, and it doesn't snap. It's just, I'm going to do something with that recoil spring in here. I might chop it in half like I do with some of the Glocks, or not in half, but I'll trim some of it off. I'll get another OEM spring. I'll trim that to like 30%. So you have a pre-tensioned, basically make my own dual rate springs, and possibly put like a nylon or a polyurethane hydrometer buffer in there. The night sights on this thing are fantastic. The gun looks amazing. This is one of the prettiest guns I've seen in a while. There's just something classy about it. I'm not a Glock, you know, fanboy or anything. I just happen to have 2 of them because I run them suppressed. Compare the 45 here. Dimensionally, honestly the only difference, if you run any of these with a beaver tail so you can get up higher on them, you can look at spreadsheets all day long and specs and compare, you know, but it's just like cars. You can compare a spreadsheet, but a spreadsheet isn't the thing that sets lap times. So the Glock is actually a little bit longer, tip to tip. Like I said, it's also got that Lego kind of thing going on with it, where all the edges are blunt and square. This thing just feels, you know, even though it has some edges on it, it's not, you know, like a carry melt treatment on my old Kimbers, where they just, and it feels like you're holding a bar of soap in your pocket. It's definitely got some pointy stuff, but it curves to your body a lot more easily. The trigger guard lets you get up, you know, at least higher, so you can bite down on the gun with your fingers. I love the safety. Honestly, I'm not going to carry it with the safety on, but I can press all my weight into that, into the safety, into the slide release, and then I can get my left thumb. This is just unbelievable. Right here, this whole little lip for the breakdown lever, I can just put all my weight and steer with that, and just, my trigger finger is just so relaxed in this gun. It's just bing, 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 like a paintball gun. while this thing's going off. So great gun so far. They come with 3 mags, you guys all know that. I just saw one of these online and I said, you know what, I have to have it. I couldn't pass up the deal, and wanted a high cap 9mm that I can, you know, shoot 2,000-3,000 rounds a month out of and not have any issues. Ironically, I wanted to get a G17 before I bought any of these cheap guns, because I'm really a die-hard Kimber 1911 guy or custom gun guy, and you know, it was a real departure selling $5 grand worth of 1911s and picking up 2 different Glocks. Just, you know, pretty hilarious. One thing I was a little nervous about was the ambidextrous safety release here. I'm sorry, the magazine release, because the way I carry, you know, gangster carry style, where it's, you know, tucked in the waistband on a clip. You know, I was worried about that hitting on the belt and popping it out. Same with, you know, behind the back. You know, any kind of pressure on the outside, last thing you want is just, boom, drop the mag out real easy. So I'm going to hit that with the Dremel a little bit later and almost remove it. I'm going to make it sit flush with the housing, just in case, because I also do practice shooting left-handed. But if I go through 18 rounds of 9mm and I happen to have a mag on me, and I happen to still be alive where I can use that extra 17 rounds, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to flip it, thumb it, pop a new one in. You know, I don't need any of the left hand controls. Even if I was shot in the right hand, these sights, you can rack them off the table, your shoe, your belt. You know, this thing can get it done. And honestly, I like exotic stuff. You guys know what kind of cars I have and the watches and everything else. This is a gun I've never seen at any range. I've never seen anybody carry it. Nobody talks about it. And it's just a real exotic handgun. You know, yeah, it's made in America, which sucks. You know, whatever. You guys know my opinion. I don't like anything made in the USA. That's just the way it is. Everybody here is just super lazy. But if it was made in Belgium, honestly, I probably would have paid an extra $50 for it, just for, you know, just to send the money overseas. But no, everything's real nice about the gun. Let's compare it here to the G21. So this is the full-size Glock. Doesn't get any bigger or badder than this unless you go to the G41, which is the, you know, extra half-inch longer slide. So all intents and purposes, full-size 45. With magazines in, you are looking at basically the same height. If we're going barrel to barrel, not going chamber to chamber, back to back, the width is a couple mils wider. I think it's 3mm wider for the G21 than the G23, and that same translates to this. The big difference between the Glocks and the FN is the width of the grip here. I'd measure it, but I don't have my micrometer. But the width of the grip is like a thin 1911. Like if they made a 1911 as a 9mm back, you know, 100 years ago, and they would have shortened the grip to compensate for the length of the cartridge. That's kind of what this feels like. This does have the big back strap on it originally, which is what I was going to put in. Here's the thin one. I wear XL size gloves, but I have a 7-inch wrist. So my hands are, I would say, pretty much normal, maybe a little bit longer on the finger side. But the big difference is when you get on the Glock, you can press, you can get so much extra adhesion into the frame of the gun and just bite with your left hand, you know, V'ing it out and just putting that gun in a vice grip. This, there's, you know, if you have any kind of large hands, you can see how much extra room I have. Here, I have basically no room. I got a finger width. So I'm actually peeling off my fingers or pressing into my fingernails with my hand. So this hand is honestly just here for balance, but it compensates with this extra bit right up here to press into. Whereas this, you look at all that extra real estate. I have probably triple the real estate here for that left hand as I do here. And this, the grip texturing, people always say FNs are, you know, so aggressive. Honestly, I get more grip out of that Gen 4. And it's not my skin type or anything else. These are deeper grooves, So these will, if they pack up with mud or whatever, it's going to be harder to get mud or whatever debris is stuck in here out of the waffle versus this. The spacing is a little bit bigger. It goes the same kind of, you know, theories and techniques as tires. You know, motocross tires, rally car tires, or snow tires. If you have a bigger block spacing, it's easier to clean out. But the threads per inch or the lines per inch kind of a deal. It's, you know, what kind of durometer material are you laying across, you know, the surface, and what kind of PSI pressure points are you putting onto each little dot. Plenty of grip though. I would totally carry this into battle. Haven't had a single hiccup through it. I'm running the cheap tool ammo through it, and it's running amazing. Sights were dead on, which they never are with the Glocks. I always have to bang out the sights, put in the lower ones in because they shoot like 3 inches high at 25 or 4 inches high at 25, and then like they're just so far off the charts. And then here we got the little 380 TCP. This gun's fully worked over by the professionals here at the Young Connoisseur Gun Shop. Trigger's just ridiculous. It's great. Every surface on this gun's beveled. I don't care what it looks like. Everything's thinned out. This thing, I noticed my cell phone in my pocket more than I noticed this gun. So if you see me in the streets and you're trying to rob me or whatever, I'm gonna have one of these typically, and I'll probably have this somewhere else, possibly a knife as well. You know, I'm not a go to war, you know, I stay strapped all day, every day, kind of a deal. But if you see me rolling, you know, in a $250,000 car through the ghetto somewhere, it's better think twice. So we'll wrap this video up here. I never make long videos like this, but beautiful gun, absolutely love it. I paid, I don't even want to tell you what I paid or where I bought it from. It's so cheap, because then I won't be able to sell it if they have any more in stock, because you guys know I don't keep my guns very long. But all in all, fantastic gun. Please subscribe. I'll be happy to show you some videos of this thing ripping between like 3 or 4 steel plates, CQB style, doing some long range, and just generally having some fun with this thing. And oh, and nobody makes any trigger kits for this. So once I put about 1,000 rounds through it, and we'll see where we're at trigger wise, I'm actually gonna probably make my own parts, and we'll see about selling them if there's any kind of demand. But yeah, if I could get this thing down to, you know, the crisp 2.5 pounds that I have with the Glocks here. These, I love these better than the 1 pound triggers I had in my 1911s. So I have these Glocks set up, and this thing is, I'm getting a workout on my forearm. So at least it's helping with small motor control. So we'll use that for 1,000 rounds, and I'll make some parts. So subscribe, guys. Check out some of my other videos, like my blackout ripping, or, you know, these with suppressors on them, or something else. And we'll have to do some more watch reviews. Recently got a, you know, Rolex GMT2 Blue Black, and been wearing this thing pretty much every day. I already have a couple nicks in it, but trying to get my money out of stuff this time instead of just buying huge watches and letting them go to waste and just, you know, collect dust. So, Young Connoisseur signing off. Thanks, guys.